All right.
I think we're live.
We're live. Who all is in here? We've had some people circling a little bit. We got the one-eyed cat in JB's little shop. Deborah is loving life. That's a great thing to do, Dallas.
That it is.
We've got unfinished project. He's just ubiquitous. He is everywhere. He's omnipresent.
So is he? I take it if you've ever seen. I don't know if you like superhero movies. Did you ever
Sure.
see the one with Doctor Manhattan? Besides seeing blue dong all over the screen for 2 hours, right? He was like that. He was ambiguous. He was literally there but not there. He
Yeah.
was in all time, space, and dimensional areas at the same time.
I,
So
I could go to Bismarck, North Dakota, and I would be, like in a diner or something, and I would see darts written, on just to let me know he was there. It's
yeah,
kind of how
I
he
could see
does
it.
things.
You stop in the one phone booth in all of North Dakota, and in the corner,
Right?
directly underneath the phone, it says "Darts" for a good time called Dartsport,
Yes,
right?
he could do that. He could make that happen. Ginger Lane, what he's referring to is I don't know how he got on trailer parks and dragways, but my old home track, Princeton Dragway, the dragway itself is now Ginger Lane. It's like the main street in a trailer park. Don says maybe I should run like I'm being chased. Not a bad idea. NSB's in here. Custom cars. Max Wedge Dick Dastardly, one of the finest usernames on all of YouTube.
I don't know
I
if it can
love
get
that
any
name.
better with that.
It's really good, isn't
It is. And I thought my Mister Rotter's Neighborhood TV or channel was like a
Yeah.
really good name. It's nowhere near as cool as Max Wedge Dick Dastardly.
But Dallas, you need to wear the red sweater and take your shoes off from one side to the other and sing your way into your Buick projects. You got to do that at least once. It's Mr. Rotter's neighborhood.
Sure, maybe I should dub in Mr. Rotter's actual audio while he's singing these songs, right?
Yeah, sure. He had a song about a Buick in there somewhere.
Oh, he did, and he had
And
the song about the policeman that he was sharing the swimming pool with, and what's really interesting that he hasn't been
what?
canceled is that
What?
he actually had one about genders. I
I
couldn't.
saw that. I thought that was interesting.
How
The world,
ironic!
the world was a different place. It was a simple place in the 60s. Bad Tree Blake is here. He's making Knuckles bleed but listening. Those guys are redoing the cage in that dart that Blake has.
Oh,
And
dude, there's
they're doing swing outdoor bars, and it's looking really good.
Oh, well, my recommendation, don't bother with the swing out door bars. Just get the door bars in first and get it functional because you'll want to see how much flex there is before you cut for them swing out door bars. Because it greatly reduces the strength of that cage. So put it all in there because you can always put the door bar kit in after you got the door bars welded in. But you can't do it the other way around. So,
They've been getting they've been consulting with Deke on it to make sure everything's
oh,
kosher. That's
well, and it's
definitely
going to be cool. Deke is the dude. I'm telling you, I've known
yeah.
Deke since I was probably. I'll go back to say it. I've known Deke probably since I was a seaman, but I don't think that's true. I don't believe that to be true. But I've known Deke since I've had my eyes open as a child, right? So Deke is the dude.
So Danny Boyd tried to blow up a Tempo engine, and all he got was the gunk off the engine. Unfinished project is milking a goat, but he'll be back later. That's such a
Huh.
thing that you would see on this live. Frankenstein C20. He's listening while he's making a call out video. That'll be exciting. Pure Pontiac Garage is here. Smoke Wrench is here. Captain Dew is here. Captain Dew says on my last video upload on my channel about like a week ago, I got the V6 out of Dakota and opened up the head and noticed the real problem on the head gasket. Well, Captain Dew, if you can fix your head gasket, you're ahead of some people. Mr. Polo C4. Can't imagine my car would beat you, but race me, JB.
I'm
JB's
just
like his plateful. He's popular this year.
I'm just catching up. I'm looking at Danny Boyd says that if he had a channel, it would be Mr. Rotter's Neighborhood. like
Yeah,
ROTT.
yeah, I can see that. It would be about Ford Decay. I can see that. Fabrice Mondry Pete, how's it going? My mom's here. Let's see. Colleen Tebow. Fun fact, there are 2 females on here, which represents the entire 100% of the female viewership of this channel. Ron English is here. Glad you could make it. Buff's Garage, driving but listening. Buff is always on the road. Wendy English. LP94, Lars. Rapid Transit J is here. Dakota's timeout. You know what? I think this would be a good idea. Let's do something different. Let's time Dakota out 7 minutes in. That'll probably help. Just diversify his portfolio of timeouts. I don't think I've ever timed him out on the first comment. So Jackie Abbott is here. Nick the Van Man 90. Junkyard D.
Hey, Nick the Van Man, he and I are working together. He wants to break in the cam on his small block Chevrolet.
Yep. That's a good looking project he's got.
Yeah, well, I give him some insight, like I put a lot of them on the start stand, and I'm going to tell you right now, I said, put some specific braking oil in it. Don't buy the stuff that you add to regular motor oil. Just buy the braking oil and bite the bullet.
Now, I've got a guest coming on soon on this live. We're about to get his time booked up, and you'll know in advance, but he is an expert on engine oil. You're going to want to see that. Yep.
Is this a guy that messes with methanol at his house?
Well, not that I know of, but he is an engine oil expert, so he'll be on soon.
Oh, does this guy work for somebody like Total Seal?
I'm not saying anything yet. You'll see.
Man, okay.
You'll have to see. Dr. Manhattan is from DC Comics film The Watchmen.
Yeah. That's the only downside of that film, The Watchmen, is the blue dong flying around a screen for freaking 2 hours. It's like, come on, guys.
Blue Collar Performance, who's been chasing a timing problem on his Pinto. You might want to check that out. That's a fun channel. I really enjoy Blue Collar Performance. Sam's MFA, and I'm telling you what, every time I see that, I cannot remember what that stands for. And every week he tells me, and I still can't remember what those initials stand for. And I always think Masters of Fine Arts. Torque Racing Productions Roland, 167. Yes, indeed. Actually, 166, 3 hours, 50 minutes to be exact.
Wouldn't it be mother flipping awesome?
Maybe. Turbo Tom 416. Oh, and Dallas, you know what we found out this weekend, don't you?
What's that?
Turbo Tom is consulting with the family elders about bringing the Model T Ford, the 1916 Model T, to the No Name Nationals. It's a cliffhanger. We're going to find out, hopefully, by the top of the week, if the 1916 Model T has official clearance to go down the track in Sykeston.
Oh, I don't see why not.
Well, but they got to approve it, you see.
Who's that? Oh, the family.
The family, right. Because Turbo Tom's got a few years on me, but I'm assuming he is not the original owner of a 1916 Model T Ford. So it makes sense when you think about it. So Max Wedge Dick Dastard says, Blake, if Jeremy or anyone wants a new dual quad aluminum air cleaner, half price of new, never on anything. So there you go. Dean Stevenson's in here. Dean Stevenson was on a live with Auto Salvage Outlaws. Dean Stevenson is on the other side of the country. And he was live streaming, riding around in his truck. And it was interesting. Seeing the countryside. Mopar's Mustangs and Minivans is here. 6% recycled sneaked in. Let's see here. New Guys Guitar, James and James Show. All righty. Twisted Mopar Garage Dennis, glad you could make it, man. Yeah, I'm so far behind that Dakota came back before I got to the notification that he was timed out. That means I'm over 5 minutes behind. Buff said, I've been home 1 day this week. Yeah, I can see that, man. That's John Millworm is here. LNA Auto. LNA Auto is surging in the No Name 500 standings. He's about halfway. And we all know the second half is quicker than the first, so that guy's going to make it. Ricky Geray's here. Ricky Geray, so you're going to be on the track in, what, 2 weeks from tomorrow? That's exciting. That's like your first race of the season, isn't it? 38 POS Racing says it must be cam break-in season. Hello, Patrick, mostly old parts and rust. There's Left for Dead Garage.
I got one to do here soon, too, cam break-in.
Our cam break-in's fun. They're like that moment, whether you know you've wasted thousands or not. It's that,
or you're going to waste thousands. I hate it. Yes. I literally have. It's hard for me to walk because my butt will be clenched the whole time, like, right. Until it's over with. Like, oh, thank God! All right.
That's going to be a new addition to your engine stand. You know what I mean? It must be like a little tether to keep you from clenching yourself.
I should probably put one of those like Sylvester Stallone grip machines on there.
B-Dub's Garage. Hey, comments must be moving pretty good tonight. All right, I think I'm caught up. I'll tell you what, though, it is always worth it to me to greet all of you guys in here that I possibly can. We do this for you guys, and we very much appreciate you. Yeah, Ricky says 2 weeks from Sunday. Should be getting the crank back next week. Ooh, he's got a thrash to do. Twisted Mo Parsons never had any issues breaking into cam. Yeah, you know what? I am really fortunate like that because, so far I've not flattened a lobe on one. I think I've actually just kind of been lucky sometimes.
I just don't say anything like that, right?
Yeah.
That's like one of the first things is like, I just don't say anything. I'll avoid that entire question.
Yeah.
Because, if you do say stuff like that, the next one is like, all lobes, all 16 lobes are gone. Even the lobe for the fuel pump push rod's gone.
You know what though? If I'm gonna have one flat, I want it to flatten off lobes. Because if it flattens one, it's trash, right? So
right,
it's gonna flatten them, just do them all. At least make me know that it's not just one, and it's not just the only reason I'm doing it is because of that, Yeah, Left for Dead Garages. I don't think my nerves can handle another flat tap at cam break-in.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how many I've done in the past 2-3 years now. I'm probably up over 10. And I sweat every single one of them. Every one, right? But there has some things that I've been very consistent about. One is like I use old school lifters, right? I find old OEM lifters. The other thing is I grease the cam, the lobes on the cam. I grease them. No questions asked. And then I use a specific braking oil every time. And I have not, had any bad luck yet.
Ron English, he wants me to put out a PSA for the new folks here who may not know. So I think I'm going to paraphrase what he's saying here. The English family tree. So the one-eyed cat is Don English. The one-eyed cat has just recently passed the 500 subscriber mark. He's punched his ticket to the No Name Nationals. Brian English is one of the English brothers, Buffalo Brian, and Ron English is another of the English brothers. Both Don and Ron were in Sykeston last year. And Wendy is Don's wife.
She was there as well.
Sister-in-law. So there you go. There's the English family tree. And we have at times had all four in here at the same time. Cool people, wonderful people. I hang out with them at Carlisle. We've been there the last 3 years. And at Sykeston, great people. But anyway, there you go, Ron. We've got them up to speed on how the tree forks. LNA Auto Works has a question. This is a good Dallas question. Will a crack in the windshield stop my 20s car from running? Let's assume he means running down the drag strip.
Yeah, that's what I'm pretty certain he means. Because Deke, when we had him on for tech, he even said something about cracked windshields. The whole idea is it can't be vision impairing, right? If it's literally like vision impairing in the middle of the windshield, you're probably going to want to get rid of it. I mean, most cars wouldn't even pass. Some states don't have safety inspection, but a majority of states do, and it won't even pass a safety inspection. A basic safety inspection for any state that has one will fail you if you have a broken windshield.
Well, at least a car in the 20s doesn't have curved glass. So you have
they
more
don't
option.
even have the tempered glass.
I think it's safety in the windshield. Definitely not in the sides, though. I'm not sure about that, though. But you know what? You don't have to have a windshield at all.
Yeah, there's nothing saying you got to have one.
Yeah,
Because
you don't
Dalton
have
Summit showed up with a faced helmet.
right. There's no windshield going in that car. Max Wedge Dick Dastardly says, my buddy's Max Wedge cam break-in used 14 gallons of racing fuel, 20 minutes, ran tank empty 3 times. $100 for 5 gallons. Ouch.
I don't know how that's possible.
So
14
Dakota
gallons
said,
for 20 minutes. Let's say that's equivalent to 20 miles.
Is it ethanol? I mean, what?
I guess it could be on ethanol.
Yeah.
If that's the case. But because think about it, this thing's not under load for a cam break-in. It's just literally spinning the crank.
Yeah, it shouldn't be using that. Dakota's timeout says, I bet you come out cheaper buying a roller cam because you don't have to buy zinc additive every oil change.
No. It depends, I guess, probably who you are. If you got a Chevrolet small block, it might be worth it. If you're anyone else, it's not cost effective. Because when you start talking $1,000 for a camshaft, that's a lot of freaking flat tapping cams. So, I mean, because you're comparing something that's going to be $240, right? So it's virtually a quarter of the price. So when you go buy the zinc, I don't know what you guys are buying for zinc, but I just go to Walmart. I buy the STP and the little bottle of oil additive, and it's got ZDDP in it. And then I buy Rotella oil that already has zinc in it, and then I add a little bit of that stuff to it. That's it.
Yep. Twisted Mopar Garage says, factory back in the day built thousands out of those. Very few lost, but we're having metal issues. Metal is, there's Brian English. Yep. So there we go. That would be Buffalo Brian, one of the English brothers. New Guy's Garage is here. New Guy's Garage, by the way, it's interesting. It's been a topic this week. So, I'm sure some of you guys carry guns. I carry a gun every day. This channel's not about that. But New Guy's, his personal daily carry is this Colt single action with a barrel. It's like 47 inches long. And it goes with his character. It's him. It goes with his personality. But it goes to show you that even the things you don't see, the YouTubers are all just so full of personality and have huge personalities and characters. So anybody that carries that, I thought that was it goes with him, though. It really does. Mopar's Mustangs Minivan says English are great people. I agree. Love hanging out with them. James and James says Don's a great dude. Yep, indeed. They all are. One-Eyed Cat says flattening lifters is going to be his biggest concern. That and keeping the engine cool enough during break-in.
Just get your garden hose out there and run it over the radiator. That's what I do on my start stand.
The
easiest way to do it.
And it's actually much cooler because you're actually putting cold water in instead of recycling water at 160.
Well, I don't even do that. I don't put it in the radiator. I just run it. I just let the water run on the radiator.
Oh, okay.
And it just heat exchanges. It becomes a water-to-water intercooler. Right?
I've seen a lot of people run it in the radiator.
You could do that too.
And they crack it to where they get the flow they want. And just
you could do that. You could actually just take the radiator out and then run it in the inlet side of the water pump. And it'll be fine.
That too. You have the heat exchange. I never even thought about doing it that way. Hey, James and James dirt car ran with no windshield. I see 2 axes in here. Yeah.
And 2X
I can
says they
just I,
use
I can
driven
just see
racing oil.
somebody in the pits kicking a windshield out with his feet so that he can go get in staging or something.
Oh, you know what? I got my son to watch Smokey and the Bandit the other day, and
Yeah,
he was like way into it, right?
yeah.
And so this morning he's like, "Dad, what's? I found out they got Smokey and the Bandit too." I'm like, "Oh, you don't want to watch that, son." Right?
No, it's not like. See, he's got to understand that today, when they make movies, they make them thinking of 5 sequels when they make the first one, and so they're all just mediocre industrial stuff. Back then, a director made a fantastic movie, and then a sequel had to be talked into it, and it usually wasn't as good.
Right.
It was a different time then, right?
Yeah.
Smoke Wrench has got a bounce. Last call for time runs. Going to stop in again later. That's hardcore. So Smoke Wrench is listening to this in between, going through the staging lanes to race. Right on, man. Smoke Wrench is legit. He's going to get 500 here real soon. Fox Can Fix It Garage. How's it going, man? Hammer Wrench Renovations. Yeah, the hammer wrench. You know what the hammer wrench is? The hammer wrench is that giant 1-inch wrench you don't use for anything else, but it was closer than the hammer. That's your hammer wrench.
I think about my buddy. I had a friend. His name was Mark Reinhardt. We used to call him Toonie. That's his nickname, and he had his favorite saying was the Arbor Press. I'm gonna go get the Arbor Press, and he would come back with like a big BFH, right? Like 2-pound hammer.
Punisher Lamons is here. Left for Dead. Listen to this. This is a funny comment, an unintentionally funny comment. Lucas Zinc is only $20 a bottle. Just bought some earlier today. It's only $20 a bottle. Only. Act now. Twisted Mopar. Now he runs synthetic 10W30. Let's see here. JB says zinc additive he only uses for the first 1,000 miles and haven't had. I'm kind of that way too. I've had really good luck on cams not getting flat. Maybe too good.
I just ran I ran Rotella T oil, and that's it. I didn't put any additive in it for a long time until everybody started telling me it doesn't have enough zinc. It doesn't have enough zinc, and so okay, fine. So I added some STP to it because I know STP they have zinc and it's ZDDP in that STP lubricant, right? So
Sam likes Valvoline VR1, and yes, that is a good oil for that, and it does have a lot of zinc.
It's expensive.
It is very expensive. It's not cheap.
But it is a good oil. That's what I use in my race car.
Mohawk is in here somewhere. Sometimes I see other people's comment that lets me know they're here even when I miss theirs. And I'll tell people, because, periodically we got a lot of new folks in here right now. Just so you'll know, on an average Friday Live, we average 1,000 comments per hour. And it's sometimes a little more. It's been as many as 1,500. It's never less than about 750. So sometimes the screen will jump, because right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 7 comments on my screen right now. And when it refreshes, if it refreshes by 8 or 9, that means one that was just off the screen to the bottom goes beyond the top and I don't see it. So that happens sometimes. I think I do pretty good, but if I miss you, understand. We try to really do good, but we don't necessarily see every single comment.
Oh, and you are a little bit behind on comments for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, usually I'm on it, but we've been pausing and grabbing certain things.
Nick the Van Man's saying that he's done 4 engines in the past 3 years, 0 issues. Notched the lifters and reground cams from Delta Camshaft. Paint the lobes with Iski Rev Lube, and I use Rotella with a bottle of Howard Zinc additive. And if that's the way you want to go, buddy, man, you're more than welcome to put it on my start stand. But I'm going to tell you right now, we hook the start stand up to it, and you're going to be running the brake in. If it goes badly, it's your engine. It's just my start stand.
So Nick just heard Dallas insures all engines for $5,000 that go on his. Is that a translation, Dallas?
I'm just saying, hey, you're doing the break in. I'll help you run the
Right,
thing, and I'll put the water on the radiator.
right.
But the way this, okay, I'm very leery about small block Chevrolet stuff, and I'll tell you why. It's real simple. It's due to quantity. All right, for every 10 Buick engines built, or every 25 Mopar engines built, or every 100 Pontiacs, or whatever, there's 1,000 Chevrolets built. Okay, the parts that were good with the good metallurgy, they were gone the second week they stopped making the stuff. So I'm always very leery about a small block Chevrolet. That's the one I'm the most leery about. And you may have it all sorted out. Hey, good for you. I'm not expecting it to go bad. I'm expecting if you did it right, it's gonna go okay. But I'm just very leery about small block Chevrolet stuff, and I don't specialize in them, so I don't know. I've had two small block Chevys in my life. Right, that's it. Which is most people probably have had in a month.
If I can do this without knocking my light over here, which I probably can't, and then I get to fail spectacularly for everyone. I have my light right here. This book right here, which is Bill Jenkins' The Chevrolet Racing Engine, he talks about using stock blocks for performance. And one of the neat things in it is he says that all of your factory small block blocks they were using need to go at least 20 over, even if the bores look fine, because of how much taper they put on the top of the cylinder. As he said, so to get rid of that taper, you've got to go a minimum of 20 over. He said, don't go any more than you have to try to preserve it. But it's interesting because, they have all the aftermarket blocks now and things like that have gotten lost.
Yeah. Well, and that I really think what we're looking at right now, what's happening within the industry is we're going backwards. We're going backwards, and people haven't recognized that yet. They're grabbing all these LSs and putting these cheap Chinese turbos and EFI on them, and hey, that's going to last for about another 2-3 years, right?
Hammer wrench, look at that. Of the 48 cars I've owned, only 3 have had carburetors. What? What
Yeah,
are you,
like
a
the
new
opposite
car
of that.
dealer? How is that possible?
I'm the opposite of that.
There aren't 48 cars ever made without carburetors I would want to own. That's a fascinating statement. Can you tell us more about that? I'd really like to know. What is it you do? Are we just that old that that's a thing now? And I wanted to say hi to Dizzy Izzy. I see him in there. Blue collar performances, Dallas. I feel attacked by your statement.
Oh, why is that? No, I'm not trying to attack anybody. I'm just being straightforward with the small block Chevrolet. The parts turnover rate, they just are horrendous. They go fast, right? Because people build more of those than they do anything else.
Max Wedge Dick Dastardly, you get a high five this week. I put a carb on my 97 Ram right on.
Yeah, I'll be doing that on my 94 Ford.
Yep. Huge improvement. Oh, yeah. So how's that going, Dallas?
I haven't started yet. Okay, so I'll let you know how my life has been going at the moment. Okay, originally I had planned to do a 1971 455 Buick for a guy in Clarksville. Started in November, planned it all. Now that it's built, this dude's ghosted me on the phone, right? So now I wasted months and months putting this thing together, and it didn't need to go together. And just as soon as I finished that, there's another guy shows up, wants me to work on this 68 Buick GS 400 he's got, won't run worth crap. So I'm working on it, and it is literally kicking my ass. This car has beat me down more than anything I've ever even worked on in my life. I ended up changing the steering box on it so I could have a win, right? And that's a horrible job. If you've ever done that, that's a terrible job. And I did that just so I could have a win. And I just found out today it's got an Edelbrock intake manifold on it and a Performer intake manifold on this big block Buick. And it is dual drilled and machined for a 4150 or a spread bore style carburetor. Well, I took the carburetor off and it just would not run worth a crap. I couldn't figure out why. And when I took the carburetor off, I found out, I saw why. It's machined out further on the primaries than the gasket. There's literally like an eighth of an inch gap. It's been sucking air the whole time. And it's like, what in the world? How is no one, where's the QA people for this crap?
That van I have had vacuum leaks all over it. Uh, Man, I don't even know how it was running as good as it was, but I fixed the vacuum leaks, and so now I'm like, okay, we'll check the plugs, see if they foul. I mean, it was seemed to be so happy with them, I couldn't believe it. Unfinished project. Got a call. Got to head back to work. Oh goodness, hardworking guy. So wait a minute, what was Hammer Wrench asking there? He's asking, can
If you
I
can put,
carburate my Excursions V10?
yeah.
I don't know
So
why not.
I'll tell you what, if you want to do
Like
it,
you do with the
you
distributor or wiring for coils.
well, you don't necessarily need that, right? Because that's a modular Ford, and even if it's a V10, you can get that box from MSD or whatever that just
Okay.
uses that crank cam pickup sensor deal
Yep.
and creates a spark, right? I was going to say, if you guys really want to see some cool weight, you can carburate anything. Anything can be carbureted. If it's EFI, it can be carbureted. I don't care if the intake manifold's made out of rubber. Okay, it can literally be carbureted. And if you want to see the people that lead that stuff, there's a thing on Facebook called, I think it's Shitbox Nation, and then there's another one that's the 24 Hours of Lemons, or it's called the Not the 24 Hours of Lemons group. I think that's what it is, something like that. But I mean, there was dudes that had GM2GCs on a Toyota intake manifold, right? And all they did was literally ground it off with a grinder and epoxied an adapter on
Yep.
the intake manifold.
Yes.
And
I
I'm
see
like,
that
this
about
is
once a year
genius.
anymore. I see that about once a year anymore. It used to be more common, but seriously, I'll see for example, like the early throttle body Mopar fuel injections for the small blocks. About once a year, I'll still see where somebody just took them a grinder and just hogged that intake out, and spool gunned an adapter on there, and there's your carburetor
Field
set up.
distribution, if it's running
Yeah,
on 8, she's good.
yeah,
Perfect.
that's how they do it. It's just, it's one of the crudest things ever, but it works. I still see it about, like I said, about once a year. It makes me grin.
Yeah, well, that's what my Ford is going to get that, but I mean, it's not like that archaic, right? I'm using a carbureted intake
Yeah,
manifold for a 351 Windsor, but what I did find out is I put the gasket on there for the Quadrajet carburetor, and it's neck down. It's like it has one of those 4150 adapters already built into the intake manifold, and it's neck down. So I actually got to go in there and grind out like a freaking inch, maybe,
yeah.
of aluminum around this thing so that it actually flows down instead of being necked in and then down, right? Which is ridiculous. Talk about killing performance.
Speaking of carburetors and such, so I'm tuning up the mower because mowing season is here, and I'm behind by at least a week. So I get my tune up done. I remember last year the engine just shut off. And I thought, well, maybe it was just out of gas. The last mow of the year. Well, procrastinator me, should have looked at it in the winter. I didn't. This season, I remember it didn't want to turn over, and I thought maybe the battery was dead. Put a wrench on it, it turned. Okay. I do my tune up, whole thing, oil, plugs, I'm glad I didn't bother doing the deck service on it and all that stuff, but I wanted to get all of it done. I fire it up, and it has the loudest rod knock ever. Oh, 33-year-old 18 horsepower bricks. I'm like, great. So my backup plan, I've got another rider, which is a Cub Cadet. It's one of those that was a free 99 deal, right? And the PTO doesn't work. So anyway, I tuned it up, and anyway, it was pouring rain all day today, but tomorrow, if it's dry, I'm going to get out, figure out what's wrong with PTO and mow with that, and then I'll be rebuilding my 18 horsepower Briggs, and maybe we'll do some content. Unity Motorsports Garage is in here. What's
I
up,
saw that.
Andy? By
Well,
the
there was
way, by the way, and for those who don't know, guess when Andy's birthday is?
today.
It might be today. It could be. He might be halfway to 88
Damn
today.
it. My
Put
birthday
new
was just
bearings
last
in it.
week.
Danny boy, yes, I'm gonna put new bearings in, but I'm gonna do this right. I'm gonna take it down. I'm gonna get the crank turned if it needs it, and all that good stuff. And we'll do a nice, respectable job. 33 years old on that mower, and if it gets 33 more, it'll outlive me. So I'm calling that
I'm
good.
so Punisher Lamont's garage is saying fuel injection is so easy. Why carb swap? I've just had it with this Ford EFI. It is driving me nuts, and the sensors aren't cheap anymore. They used to be like $25. They're now 75 or $100 for each one. Well, I hate to say it, and I've always said this: the carburetors, a rebuild kit for a carburetor is like about $27, right? And fuel pump $20. But EFI seems to be just add another zero to every bit of that, right? And for what gain?
Danny Boyd 33 years ago was 1990. And yes, Deke, those PTOs, I've worked on a bunch of those Cub Cadets. I used to work in a little small engine shop some friends of mine have doing miscellaneous stuff. I did a lot of welding and electrical for them and other stuff, like worked on small engines and stuff like that. And yes, those Cub Cadets have way too much junk in them. And they have way too much wiring and way too much electronic stuff. And that to me has always been my least favorite thing about those Cub Cadets. They're nice to drive. They have a cup holder. My other mower doesn't have a cup holder, and they're automatic, and they're so smooth. And the hydrostatic stuff lasts really well on them. But they have too much electronics. So, yes, happy birthday, Andy.
Halfway to 88. Man, you're a youngin'.
Well, Dallas, is that better than being halfway to 94?
All of it sucks. Anything over 40 sucks. It does.
Hammer Wrench says my 2001 6.8's been a great motor, 2,002 miles. Well, my 2004 4.7 was a great motor for 225, and then it spun a rod bearing.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll be straight. My 94 Ford has 310,000 miles on it, and it's had just a few sensors replaced, but they're not. You can't get the good Ford stuff anymore. And if you buy Motorcraft, I'm telling you, I just put a TPS on it. That was the one that has done this to me, is the TPS. I put a TPS on it 2 years ago when I took Tony's bottle rocket down to Jake's Dragway. Me and John and Andy and yeah. I had to screw with the thing for 20 minutes just to get it to leave a parking lot that night when we left, because the TPS was just throwing codes like mad, and I couldn't figure out why. And it has never ran right since. So that TPS was $150, $140 for a Motorcraft piece. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm done with it. These things used to be $25. I used to race 5-liter Ford stuff, and I had piles of it. Well, now I'm starting to run out of the piles, and so is the good parts. Finding the factory pieces are getting hard to come by. So guess what I do have tons of? Quadrajet effing carburetors. And they're cheap and easy. Let's see.
Yeah, so my buddy with the mower shop, he has this mower graveyard upstairs. I'm telling you, I don't think there's anything I could not go up there and build and drive out in a day's time. There's everything up there. I actually had a stroke of good luck because, like I like to run tires until there's nothing left but the layer of air and a valve stem, right? So they're having that thing where they pick up all the, the stuff that you can't throw away in the trash. And somebody laid out, thrown away, I couldn't believe it, a really nice 20 by 8 Carlisle turf tire, exactly like what my mower takes. And last year I had one just rip the entire sidewall out to where the tube was sticking that far out of the tire. And I was still driving it like that. And I thought, wow, if I could just find one tire, I'd have a set again, because the other one actually looked pretty good. Now I did actually found it. That never happens. So I've managed to have no more than about $250 in this mower over the course of 17 seasons. I'm
You
kind
know,
of like,
I haven't mowed yet.
it's a
I mean,
quest to be cheap.
well, the grass is literally like probably 12 inches tall now, but I haven't mowed yet. I've been holding off.
You haven't mowed any of your property yet?
None of it. Yeah, none.
Wow.
I cut the trees down and all the branches. I picked them all up and burned them in the backyard.
Yeah.
But last year it was so dry that most of my grass died off.
Yeah.
It just didn't get any water, so it died at the end of the year.
The grass beside Dallas's house in this field gets to be 6 feet high.
Yeah.
It's the grass. I don't know what it is, but we don't get grass that big here. It doesn't get that tall. It stops like chest high here in an open field. But whatever kind of grass he has gets much taller. It'll get over your head. His grass gets so big it almost looks like unripe corn.
You know, Dakota says here that put more cars in your yard so there's less mowing to do.
Dakota, you are spot on. I have a spot in the backyard that is 6 by 17 feet that I don't have to mow because there's a roach runner sitting on it. And man, I love it. I'm all for that.
Yeah, he also says that and dump your old oil around your house and that you won't have to weed eat.
With my luck, it'd catch on fire. Brian says, how many lawns do you mow? 4. And they are killing me.
Oh, you mow 4 yards with that one mower?
That's right. That's right. Well, not with that mower. I mowed 2 lawns with one mower and 2 lawns with another mower. Andrew Nelson's here. What's up, man? Glad you could make it. Shopcat says his wife refuses to mow the junkyard now. Mr. Polo hates mowing 1 yard. I'm telling you, that would be like vacation to me, having 1 yard to mow. If we didn't mow in the summer, and I had no mowing to do in the summer, I would get out and get more stuff, be able to work on stuff more. It'd be fun. But it seems like every nice day in the summer, I'm like, man, it's a nice day. And I don't have a bunch of appointments. I don't have a bunch of work. Oh, that's right. I need to mow. So anyway, forget whatever I wanted to work on today. Just how it works. It's okay. Can't imagine multiple. I'm telling you, these yards too. Like, yeah, one here's pretty decent. I got one that's small, but it is straight up and down. Like the top of it is above the second story of the house, and the bottom of the yard. If the house had 2 basements, it'd be down there. It is steep, and you got to push mow. There's no way to ride that thing. Last time I tried to ride it, I hit a tree root, and I literally bent a blade up through the deck. I had to take the blade out and then hammer the deck down and weld the hole shut and put new blades on it.
I screwed a mower up doing that one year, something similar. Push mower, brand new. Who was the orange ones? Johnson?
Husqvarna?
This was in the 90s. I think it was Johnson.
Oh no.
Right? Well, my neighbor they do the normal thing like, oh, we're going to pay our neighbor kid to come mow, right? So I had this new mower. My dad and I bought it. Well, he had bought it, and I had to pay him back for mowing all these yards, right? And the neighbor was like, hey, come mow my yard. I'm like, all right. So he waited till, I don't know, June or July, like halfway through mowing season to have me come mow it. And it's 2.5 feet tall, and there's rabbits in it, and it's like literally a thicket. And I'm mowing it, and then I'm just going along down in the ditch, and bam, the mower jumps straight out of the ground. Like off the ground, up in the air, 4 feet in the air, right? And I'm like, what the hell? And I mean, it died immediately. And I was like, what the hell? And I pulled it all back out of the way. And there is a water meter, like a cast iron water meter, like thing buried in the grass there. And it bent the crank on the engine, right? Because it stopped it so fast.
Yeah.
It bent the crank. But I felt terrible. That mower literally had probably 20 minutes of operation on it. And it was junk. Yeah, my old man was pretty livid. And I'm like, look, Dad, I'll pay for it. You know, it was not my fault. I wasn't screwing around. It was just, look, you know. So,
Shopcat, it's funny you say that because Poland had a commercial where they said Poodland, and they had a hound dog in it. I remember that. Irish Outlaw Garage is here. Irish Outlaw addressed some detractors of our community on his live last night. And you know what? I'm very proud because we had to handle a little bit of that senseless drama last year, and Irish Outlaw handled it exceptionally well last night. Let everybody know where things stand, and we just moved on. Very professional. I'm proud of how our community is handling itself this year. It's very very nice. It shows how much they care about this community. They're handling things very well, and I appreciate that. So shout out to Irish Outlaw.
huh.
Dakota wouldn't have felt bad to have left him with a half mowed yard. I can stand a half mowed yard. It bothers me to no end. It
Well, he's talking
doesn't
about the
bother
guy
me
that he's talking about
too.
the guy where I wrecked mower in his yard.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like everybody. Anybody that wanted to pay me to mow their yard would wait for that sucker to get like 4 feet tall. My neighbor had 5 acres, and it was the same way. It was like 4 feet tall. So I charged him some horrendous amount of money. It took me 3 days to mow the damn thing, and he was mad. You mean you're gonna charge me over $100 to mow my yard? Like, it's 5 acres, dude, and it's 2-3 feet tall.
Gosh.
You just can't put the mower in fast and go do that. I mean,
When
it will literally kill the mower. It's so thick.
when so I got an investment partner. He and I bought a property in 20 2013, and between the time we had the contract on it and it closed, the grass just got crazy high because the tenant had moved out, let all the pipes freeze and bust. It wasn't a foreclosure, but if we'd waited another month, it would have been to buy it from these people. It was a distress sale for sure. Well, anyway, in that month in there, the municipality decided to hit it for a $300 mowing. $300 mowing. And, how do you prove was it done? Because they had done it. I literally think they did it between closing, and then I don't think I got there for 2 days after closing, and I think they did it the day before. So I'm like, well, we can't really prove it, so I'll just eat it. But man, $300, and that was 1 acre, and it was 3 feet high or something close.
Well, maybe I
But
wasn't
that
too
was
outside my realm than $100 in the '90s. Gas back
exactly.
then was still like it was like $1 a gallon, but I mean you got to remember before
Yeah.
that was like 70 cents a gallon.
Oh
So
man, we got so there's this person here, and she's how old was she? She was in her 70s then. This was a few years ago. Wanted help mowing the grass. And she had this Cub Cadet that was bigger than just a riding mower, but it wasn't a tractor. It was like a big rider. And she had 20 acres, and she probably mowed an acre and a half of that, right? And wanted me to mow it for her. Well, that grass was 3 feet high. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm happy to try, but you're probably going to roast a few deck belts on this. Man, I don't care how slow you go and how high you put that deck. It is not a brush hog. It will cut it eventually.
yeah, I used to my big thing was push mower, right?
Yeah,
Because like pre the like if you think about today, how many people got a truck with an enclosed trailer and 5 different mowers and weed whackers and all that crap
right.
inside there now, right? Back when I was a kid, what it was a 10-speed bike with a push mower, and then
Yep,
you had a 2.5 gallon gas can that you'd put on the. They had made like a little cradle that went on the back of the bike. It made it like a little miniature truck, right? And you put that 2.5 gallon or 1 gallon gas can on there plus the push mower, and you just grab the push mower handle and pull it while you're riding your bike to the next place. And it was the best kids get up you could possibly have, right? The downside was you needed cash to get started because that mower was probably $200-300 back then.
well, 38 POS Racing has a Dallas question if ever I've seen one. I don't know anything about this. Maybe you do, Dallas. Burt Monroe knew how to mow.
He lit it on
So
fire.
what's that?
He lit it on fire. You never saw that? You didn't see that
No,
movie?
no, you
I'll
told me
I'll
I need to
let
watch The World's Fastest Indian.
yeah, well, and I have the book that the whole thing's based on. It's called One Good Run, right? It's his biography by the same guy that did the movie, did this biography on him, right? And he went out there and poured gas on his grass and lit it on fire.
Brian Beeler, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I've been enjoying some. I watch Brian Beeler. He does he does these cool no nonsense auto reviews on his channel, right? So for those of you who aren't familiar with what Beeler's specialty is, he's done this for a good while and he's gotten to be really good at it. He'll find a group of cars that kind of go together. And I'll just use an example, like the 67 to 69 Dodge Dart kind of goes together. They all have the same body style, right? Or like you would say the 6970 Mustang or 71 to 73, things that go together.
Right.
And he'll find them all over Marketplace and all these ads, and he'll just go through them one at a time on a Premier. Hit the high spots. Yeah, it's worth it. No, it's not. Man, that's overpriced. I wouldn't pay that for it. That looks like a good deal. Just no nonsense, right? And just runs through it. And it's like, it's almost like having somebody analyze the whole for sale paper for you. But it's fun to watch. So that's one of those channels I just get a kick out of watching. But I appreciate that, Brian. Andrew Nelson says that's the second best movie ever, only behind American Graffiti.
World's Fastest Indian.
Danny Boyd says, love them 67 to 69 darts. Yes, Danny Boyd, everybody does. That's why they're hard to find now.
I was always, to tell you the truth, I mean, I like the Dart. I like the way it looks, but man, the 67 to 69 Barracuda just rubs me the right way. That is a good looking car. And a lot of people hate them.
Let me tell you, Polito and I agree that a 68 Dodge Dart is possibly the finest looking car ever built.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No, I think finest looking car ever built is 55 Chevrolet. And I mean,
could be.
I'm not a Chevrolet man, but God, the Tri-5 Chevy, they just nailed it.
They're great. Yeah, well, no argument here. There used to be a guy here named James that ran a Gear Jammer 55 Chevy. Ooh, it was wild. Loved that car.
Yeah, I do love me some 55 Chevrolet. I've never owned one.
Danny Boyd says a 68 Charger is the best looking Mopar ever. I got to tell you, I'm not really a Charger guy, but I do like the 68. If I was going to have a Charger, it would be a 68.
You know what Moparness I saw today that was
totally 68 Dart and summoned Frank Parks. I love it.
The most coolest thing I seen today that was Mopar related was somebody made those wing cars. They took a Daytona and Superbird and applied it to the Fuselage 71 cars. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I think you sent me that. That was crazy look. Yes, a Fuselage Superbird.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that is freaking fantastic looking.
It seems weird to me. I've seen that mocked up before.
Huh.
Yeah, I love the 68 Dart with the round tail lights. Yes, Danny Boyd. Yes,
you guys would totally dig the Australian Valiant Ute because it's a Dart and it is so freaking good looking. But it's a Ute, right? Standard cab, short bed Ute. It's not a truck. It's a Dart. It's based off a Dart A body.
Dakota said he'd like to have a 69 Charger more than anything. Hey, Dakota, fun fact, you know that more General Lees were 68 Chargers than 69s? But 69 was the first year what they modeled it after. But as the show went on, they found more 68s than 69s. And I think they wound up using more 68s than 69s.
Well, when they hit the good-looking body styles, it's usually the second year that sells the best, right? That have you ever noticed that? Like 55 Chevrolets.
Yeah.
It took people about a year to get their shit together so they could go buy one, and then they sold a ton of 56s, and I don't think a 56 looks as good as a 55.
Well, Andrew Nelson says he made up for that. 2 55s, 3 56s, 1 57. Yeah. Ooh, most of the old parts is I want one of those Mexican Dart wagons. Patrick, can you send me a picture of that? Please send me a picture of that if you can. That sounds really interesting to me. Because I like wagons and I like darts. And I like a lot of that bizarre stuff that Mexico had. One of my favorite Mexican mashup things, because you know how the Mexican market would get stuff that we didn't get here, right? Um, One thing they had is they had a um, how do I describe this? You know the Bronco, the Ford Bronco, of course. You had the full size Bronco in 78 and 9, right? And you had the smaller Bronco before that, and then the Bronco, you know, had the square nose and all that. There was a it was like a Bronco, but it was longer. It was like an F-150 length Bronco, maybe even a longer bed size. It's kind of like an excursion, maybe like pickup size with the shell made into it. But it had the mid 70s front end, and they only had them in Mexico. Had doors on the back, so it was kind of like Ford's answer to the Suburban. But they didn't
Oh,
sell them here. They only sold them there. I've
yeah.
only seen pictures of them. They're cool.
Yeah, Dean Stevenson saying, Dallas, how do you fit a real American in a cabin as small as a VE or CM Valiant U? I don't know. I seen one parked at one day. When I was stationed down there, I used to frequent the Watson's Bay Hotel in Watson's Bay, New South Wales, which is part of Sydney, and I heard it start up, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Some choppy. I mean, you could tell it was a V8, right? And I'm looking around for it, and I saw that weird looking little Ute, and I'm like, that's a damn Dart, right? And it was a good looking car, but gosh, was it short wheelbase?
Now, Captain Do is saying the 69 Charger 500 uses a 68 Coronet grill. Yes, it does. And the 70 Superbird uses 68 Coronet fenders and hood. Yes, it does. I
There
don't know
was
about the hood, but I know that the fenders.
there was
And I
something
know the
funky about the
grill.
back glass too, right? In the
Yeah, the
back
back glass
glass.
is flush. The back
Okay,
glass is flush on those instead of sunken in like the regular Chargers.
huh? But that was the
Dude,
only car that got that
back
too,
on.
wasn't it?
What's that?
That was the only car that got that, the 500.
Well, the Charger 500 and the Daytona and the Superbird. Well, I guess the Superbird wouldn't have had that anyway, but they had a flush back glass that wasn't recessed.
Right, that was the only car that
Yeah.
got it though, was the 500, I believe.
I have seen guys build replicas using the back glass plug from a Vega, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
It's so close, they say it's hard to tell, but it just seems weird to me. But
Well, like there's a lot of stuff in history like that. I'll tell you
yeah,
one that I find is
Dakota just said it. People make them with Vega hatches. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about.
okay. The through history, there's been some neat stuff like that. Like the vet that everybody covets is that split window that you can't see anything out of,
Right,
right?
right.
Okay, but that same back glass setup is available in a boat tail Rivy, right? And
Yeah.
I've always wanted to cut the back glass off
Huh.
of one of those boat tail Rivies.
I never
And
knew it was the same. It
yeah,
is the
and
same.
it's the same, yeah.
Hmm.
And I was going to weld that whole back glass, except for the vet is of the frame around it is fiberglass, right? The Rivy is steel. And then they made the Novas, the fastback Novas that ran in the Superstock in AFX era, right? I thought about grafting one of those big back windows from the vet onto like a 63 Special like I got for my Superstock
Right.
car, and it would look like something from that era. It'd be kind of cool.
Danny Boyd, I love the Vega. I would love to have an early 70s Vega with a big block Chevrolet. There's the hippie sitting in Blake's Dart, working
Sweet.
on it. Coming to an event near you. Looks like they are. I don't know what all he's got going on here. Got a shallow little transmission band on it. Anyway, the wrenching season is here. Lots of people turning wrenches right now.
Yeah. Well, that's because it's warmed up just a hair, right?
Yep. Yep. Guessing not a Cosworth fan, Ron Beegler says. I'm big into I remember when I was a kid, the radiator shop in town had this little Vega, and it wasn't a wagon, which I love the wagons. I just think they're cool as can be. But I remember it had a small block Chevy. It was real super clean, sounded so nice. Had a lot of tire on the back, but it wasn't back half. I just loved it. To me, that just screamed 1992. You know,
Well,
I loved it.
the big thing was when those Vega four cylinders started giving up because they were a cast iron head with
They
aluminum
were garbage.
block. Yeah, when those started giving up, the big thing was to take the 215s out of the Buick Olds and Pontiac compact cars from 61 to 63 and drop them in those Vegas because you didn't have to change anything
Yeah, 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 yeah,
and
yeah.
springs or any of it, right?
The
So,
Vega. I wish the rust hadn't gotten them so bad.
well, that's what was wrong with all those GM early compacts and subcompacts was. All right, so I took if you know Clint Street Machines, Clint, you know Clint, right?
Yep.
Everybody knows Clint from last year's No Name Nationals. Clint was helping me fix the hood on my 63 Special, which had some rust spots through the hood. And I'd never seen that before, but I assumed it's something laid on the hood, like the air cleaner or a rag or something, and it sat for 20 years like that. So Clint was going to help me patch the hood, and I took the hood over to his house, and we had to find something that had the same thickness of metal to replace the pieces in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out to be the only thing we could find that was actually thin enough, and it was still 2000 thicker, was a 78 Subaru Brat.
Yeah.
Right? Well, you remember the Brat was literally vaporizing, looking like a freaking Alka-Seltzer tablet on the way over to the United States, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, the Vegas rusted bad, but those were just in a class of their own.
Right. Well, I'm thinking, dang, this Buick has 2000 thinner sheet metal than that. I mean, how long do you think those things would last?
Couple things. 6% recycled. Why don't you plug in the comments your exhaust chop thing that you've got? And I want to get in on that because I think I got something for you. How about that? This is what Patrick sent me. I don't know how I've never seen one of these before. That's one of the coolest freaking things. Look at that.
I like the taillights on it.
Is that beautiful? Or
are those are not dart taillights. Those are like
that is a dart. That's a 69 dart with a wagon body.
Where's that at?
He said it's a Mexican thing. How
That's pretty bitchin'. Is that a two-door?
Yeah. It's beautiful. Look at that.
Yeah, that is gorgeous. I didn't know if those were dart taillights or those are. You sure they're not coronet taillights?
You don't know exactly what they are. Those are dart taillights.
Yeah, they are.
I have a 68 and a 70 dart. I don't have a 69. But I got the taillights between these. I've got the 70 had them in the bumper, and then 68 had the white reverse light in the taillight. Man, that's cool.
I'll tell you what, something that came up for sale the other day that I've been drooling over. I can't get it out of my head, John. And it's geeky as all get out. It's a 79 Pontiac Grand Am wagon with 29,000 original miles on it in a V6 Buick, right? V6 Buick and turbo 353 speed. And it's the mid-size wagon. It's 11 grand for this sucker. It's 29,000 miles. But I thought, damn, it'll easily get in the mid-20s. You know, haul my stuff.
This is the first time I think I've seen anybody block me on his channel and then come in my live and comment. That's kind of interesting.
Who is it?
See what he does. Yeah. Let's see here. Dust Devil says, sorry I'm late. Well, glad you're here, Brian. Not a TH200? I don't know.
Oh, it could be a Turbo 200 in that wagon. I don't know.
Caller Performance is still fishing. He's having fun with this tonight.
Who, me?
Yeah. Yeah, I need to get rid of that. I'm not liking that at all. Anyway, let's see here. NSB is here hanging out. 6% recycled. Yeah, he's got. Hey everyone, I started a Show Us Your Exhaust Chop challenge for spring, and everyone's invited to show off their chop. He's talking about exhaust chop. Like if you've got a tight LSA cam that makes a good exhaust note, he says put your video up. So just tag 6% recycled when you put up your video. So he wants your good exhaust note, I think is more or less what he's trying to say.
Do your best, hot for teacher.
Yep. Rick, 6% recycled. I got something for you. I'll send you something. I'll send you something. I don't know if it's necessarily what you're looking for, but it's something I built a long time ago. I think you'd get a kick out of. And it's not a Mopar. Buff says, I don't have a cam, but I have a new exhaust video. Yeah, well, cool. Captain Do will be 1010 on the side. I don't know what that means.
I was going to say, I'm not Mr. 10 group codes. I don't know what those are.
You know, I did read where there was some female that these cops were trying to restrain in a police body cam video today, and they had a 10-something code on her behavior from past experience. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Anything with a gas engine will work for the challenge, and don't forget to challenge some friends. Sure. Well, hey, 6%, what's wrong with the diesel? My next project says, hey, fellas. No, Rich, you're not, but, you know, kind of late to that party. So, you know what? Anyway. Mold's vehicle is 2001. Does that qualify? Sure, why not? I didn't see anything about it that says you had to have a certain year model.
Oh, so old man in the shop, built not bought, is saying 1010 is sitting on the sideline.
Okay. I don't know that. We don't sit on the sidelines. Dallas and I don't know what the sidelines are like. We're in there every play getting hammered.
Oh, I wish that somebody put me on the sidelines for a little bit. I'm burned out.
No kidding. Yeah. Do a Harley chop for you. There you go. That sounds good. 6%, you might get some interesting stuff. Even a diesel. Yeah, see, there you go. Why limit it to gasoline, 6% recycle? I think somebody needs to do a Prius cam note video on a Prius when it's on electric. I think that.
Do you remember those memes from like 30 years ago? It was like ring, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, the 2-cycle stuff.
Yeah. Well, they'd show all the import foreign cars, the Japanese cars, and that's the noise that they would make. Ring a ding 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 ding.
Let's see here. Captain Do says, well, this is a call chat box, which is CB for short. So I like them old trucks talking since I was a kid on them trucker films and games. Y'all have a big 10-4 now. Okay.
Well, that's fine. I'm freshened up on 10-4. I just watched Smokey and the Bandit with my son the other day. So he was just checking it out for the first time.
That's a classic. Let him stew on that a while before ruining it with 2 and 3.
No, we tried to watch 2 today, and I told him you don't want to watch that, and we watched it for about 3 minutes, and he was playing video games.
Exactly.
Right? And I'm like, yep, there you go. That's exactly how you need to remember part 2. It's terrible. But I think the neat thing is, like, I've been doing these thumbnails for the Wednesday night Tech Talk Lives, and I think I got a good one for the next one coming up, John. I really do. I think I'm going to do the Green Hornet and Kato, right? So
Andrew Nelson says to the guys who do flea markets, the Beaver Springs Dragway and Cecil County Dragways are having their spring flea markets, and they'll be at Cecil. So you want to meet and greet with the Nelsons and do some flea marketing, there you go.
And I'll tell you what, the Nelsons got a hell of a lot of subs, but they're like literally the most down-to-earth people you'll ever meet, right? We spent like an hour and a half chatting at PRI. Here we are in the middle of PRI, and everybody's like, hey, I know you guys. Yeah. So,
yeah, I'll tell you what was interesting, Dallas. We went to I went with John Cope and guy from his shop, Lucas. We went over to the Indy Swap. I'd never been to Indy Swap before. Cope is a rock star at the Indy Swap. Literally 10 people around him going through this building. Yeah, unfinished project's a hoot. Shopcat said it's a well-known fact that I secretly love the Suzuki X90s. Yeah, we were talking yesterday about, You remember when cars in the early 2000s, late 90s, around the Y2K thing, it seemed like they were having the ugly wars to see which manufacturers could make the ugliest possible cars. You
Dude,
remember that, Dallas? And you
I
had like the Honda Element, and you had the Nissan Cube, the Scion XB, and all of that weird looking stuff.
dude, I'll tell you the one that always got me was
The
like what.
Aztec.
Actually, that one didn't turn me off all that, man. They were pretty damn ugly because I want to say that one was designed by a computer or something, right? Or AI. Was that the first attempt at AI? I don't remember. So it was something like that. The one that got me the most, you remember like the 98 and up Camaro with that catfish face? Oh, it's like,
Yeah.
who in their right mind was higher in hell when they freaking designed this thing?
That one didn't bother me a bit. I actually
Really?
think, yeah, I like that one okay.
That
I
is
knew
the
somebody.
ugliest
So
Camaro.
you remember when back when NMCA was a really cool, legit thing for grassroots people, right? Remember
For
that?
sure, yeah.
So, and of course, it changed. It turned into everything else.
Well, they got commercialized and bought out.
Right. Well, back in the day, there was the Paolinis, right? Dan Paolini had a 90. It was a 90s Camaro, like a 94ish or something, right? It was the Catfish Camaro, but it had a small block Mopar.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, oh yeah, and it was a terror in Real Street. Held the class record, running a small block Mopar, 410-inch small block Mopar. I always thought that was so cool.
That is kind of cool. You put a small block Mopar in that
Yeah.
Camaro. I think
Oh
those
yeah.
Camaros are just like, oh, I mean, they should have changed the body style before they put that face on that sucker.
Yeah. I mean,
I
there's
was
just
just not a
Mopar Joe.
fan.
What's up, man?
And it totally, you know what, it totally fit. Because I'll tell you what my thoughts were at the time. I was active duty. I was actually down in Guantanamo Bay doing detainee operations for that freaking Al Qaeda. When all that stuff was going on, right? And I remember when GM announced they're not going to renew the Camaro for 2003, and it was like, what, right? That's when I started seeing the writing was on the wall that I feel that the automotive community has been under attack, right? And ever since about that period, and you can kind of see when the Camaro comes and goes is when that's actually happening. And I mean, I'm not a Camaro fan by any means, but when your only performance muscle car in your entire lineup besides the Corvette gets canned, and that it's due to lack of inspiration, you know, that's the kind of indicator that that period is happening. And then so that's happening now because the Camaro is gone after next year, right? So
Times have changed, though. It's just changed. You don't have inexpensive fast cars.
well, that's
like you did at
that's what
one
I was
time.
just going to say. That's the only thing that's changed is these cars were based on the economy platform with changing the
Yeah.
sheet metal. That's it. That's all you did was change the sheet metal, and then you upped the price by double, and you made your money back on changing the sheet metal. But that's not what's happening anymore. Now you're building a complete platform. If they really wanted something good, what they would have done is they would have kept the 4.8 LS engine, and they would have built a Nova, a small Nova based off of like the Colorado Canyon truck, and it would have used the same suspension and chassis parts and all that jazz, and a 4.8 LS with a 6-speed T56. It would have gave you the coolest training you could have got out of a GM product at that point. And small little
Well,
Nova.
but the thing is, if you think about it, okay, at one time, um, remember, let's go back to like say the '80s, which is before we were buying anything. All right, we were just kids.
All right.
Young people would save up to buy a house because even though houses were cheap, interest rates were high, and you had to have a down payment and all that. Right, so people would save up to buy a house, but right out of high school, they could buy a new car. Right
Right.
out of high school, they could buy a new muscle car.
Right.
Well, now it's the opposite. I see young people who are able to get a loan at a reasonable interest rate with nothing down, or 10% or 5%. I mean, at most 5 or 3.5. Let's be honest. And they're getting $300,000 and $400,000 houses. But if they want a muscle car, what in the world does that new Demon cost? What do
Oh,
these
they're
muscle cars cost now? They're a
yeah, they're
fortune.
ridiculous. Yeah, it's supposed to be the economy car. It was
It's the
based off the
opposite.
economy. Yeah,
We don't have a car culture like that, like we used to.
I think what we're seeing is that we don't have inspired engineers. You have inspired bean counters.
Yeah. What does the new Demon cost? I
I think
have
they're 80 grand for a demon, and if you get that red eye deal or whatever that was that just ran at 890,
right.
the sucker's over 100 grand. Well, it wasn't even that long ago. A freaking vet was 50, right? Like 2002, you could have bought a vet at
Now,
50,
how
brand
much?
new.
Okay, how much money would it take if you just had the challenge? If you just had the challenge to how quick you could go for how much money would it take you to run an 890? How much money? Because that car runs an 892 at
I could probably do an
150.
890 for about 40 grand, and that's buying the car, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it actually, I'm sorry, I could do an 890 for 40 grand naturally aspirated. If we're talking cheap turbo setup, I can probably do that for about 20 grand. Cheap turbo setup, run an 890.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair enough.
Yeah, if you pick the right car and you start off with some decent stuff to begin with, you could easily do it.
I might need to do some housekeeping the last half hour of the live. I'm not decided yet, but we will see. Most of the old part says the Demon 170 is 96,000, but dealers are getting 100 to 200,000 over that. I guess because they only know there's X number made. Yeah, so they're actually marking them up 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, well, so do you remember this is kind of indicative of 2008? See, 2008, Ford came out with that Cobra Jet Mustang that you could buy from Ford, and when it was originally sold, you could go get essentially the Mopar Ford Performance handout that they handed out at all the freaking dealerships, and you could buy every part in there and it had the part numbers listed for that car, and you could buy all those parts and assemble one at your house. And I want to say they had a 302 crate motor that was approved and a 428 Windsor crate motor that was approved. And you could build one of those for like 20 grand, 25 grand, but you needed a car to start with. Then it came as the whole package car, right? And the package cars, the ones that were like, I want to say they were 60 or 70 grand new, but then dealer markup on them had them almost to 100 grand, right? And it was murderous.
Andrew Nelson is showing 890s. He can do 15,000 using a turbo.
Oh, all right. There
Yeah,
you
I
go.
can see that. I can see that.
I mean, you could easily do it with nitrous oxide and knock about 3 grand off of that.
Of course, we're not talking about longevity. We're talking about making the number, right?
Yeah. Well, if you have you ever seen one of those Dodge Demons like up close and personal at the drag strip? One of those
Yeah, I
Demons?
did. So when I was down there at Shadyside watching Andy Wood's test passes, those two that he made down there,
Yeah.
there was some guy in there who rolled in, and he was trailering it to the track,
Oh.
but he had a Demon, all factory. He had it dialed 6.0, and he was running 605, 603 with it, 602. And it had a soft little launch to it. But man, that thing picked up from the 60 to 200 feet. It was a bullet. It was a freight train.
I seen one that was brand new, and I was at Little River Dragway in Texas, and I was actually looking over their track. I was
That's a
trying to
cool
work with
track.
them. AHRA. I was trying to work AHRA with Little River, and there was a guy brought a brand new Demon in there, and it was literally the first time down the track, and was up there, and he did a burnout and launched that sucker, and it went to the moon, right? Like 11,000 RPM bouncing off the rev limiter, whatever it's set at from the factory. And the car just wasn't moving. So they pushed it back, and you hear clunk, 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 and look under it, and like literally the entire center section of the rear end had just spit out the back, right? And it was like, I thought for that kind of money, you wouldn't have to deal with that type of shit. I never would have expected that, to tell you the truth. But it's
Uh-oh,
kind of
New Guy's Garage says 890s, $2,500. Don't know if you'd be brave enough to hop on that go-kart, but it can be done.
well, and see, this is where I think what would be kind of cool is if you set a just a basic framework for ground rules on this, and this is where you do a claimer deal on them, right? You have a $2,500 890 index class, and there is no breakout. So if you're under by 890 by $2,500, hey, have at it. But I'd love to run a class like that
Yeah.
where everybody would be willing to do, claimer, to where just Mopar Joe could show up with his 890 mobile, and $2,500 is the number. You could buy his, or he could buy yours right there before you even make a pass.
Mopar's Mustangs and minivans is saying he was standing next to me when I saw that demon running. Yeah, because he was there. He and Colleen were there. We were there filming and stuff. And man, that thing didn't look like it because it was whisper quiet. The guy's just sitting in it running, came here running, and then he just rolls up, just leaves off idle, runs a 6.0, and just drives right back to his pit, just as civilized as can be. Hammer Wrench Renovations rode an 84 Ranger with a Carb 5.0 on it. Don't know if it was 8 seconds, but it almost ruined my underwear. Nice. Buff said didn't know what. Yeah, so 6% recycled. If you have a hashtag you're using on that, feel free to pop it up. And of course, you can use the No Name Nationals hashtag, but if you have one that's specific for that, feel free to share it here. Because I'm going to put something up for that. I got something I've never put anything on YouTube about, or at least not in the last 10 years. So I'm going to participate in your challenge. Let me know how to tag it. Slant Daily Garage, what is up, suckers? Slant Daily, I'm enjoying watching this content on the Cookie Monster.
Professor
Boy, that
P.
is fun. That is some fun stuff.
That thing used to fly too. That thing would go.
Oh, yeah.
It did some good wheelies.
Oh, yeah. I've seen pictures. I've not seen it in person. Looking forward to that. Yeah,
He's going to spray it. He's going to spray it now.
I've asked you before about having Professor P on here on a Friday, some Friday. For this live, it's a little different crowd, a little different agenda. It's not quite as tech heavy, and it'd be fun. So we've talked about it, and we'll put that together for you guys soon. Sam Mountain Ballistics Hunter, how is it going?
Well, we should probably, last year when we did these updated, I guess the every month or so updates with me and you for No Name Nationals,
right?
We used to do things that were like, we would talk about the awards, and now everybody knows all of them. We should probably do that again.
That's coming again. It's just April. So as we go through the season. So like I said, we've got some recon to do, some things we got to do, but then we're going to be talking more about that stuff. So yeah, it's April and we're on course. Oh yeah. So one thing we want to talk about are content creator workshops. So I've already told you guys we're going to do a content creator workshop on this channel every month. I have been doing in the second Sunday of each month. And the idea behind anybody can attend, but the idea is that it's designed for channels that are trying to get to 500 subscribers and learn a little bit about it. And it's not just me. I always have a guest or two from the community who are real pros, like in the past, I've had, Buzz from Roadkill Customs, Blake from Bad Tree Productions, Barrow's Garage, Buck. We've had, different guests on, and we have put feelers out. And so tentatively, we're okay doing it this Sunday if you guys do. So you tell me in the comments, would you guys want to do a content creator workshop this Sunday or next? It's up to you. What would be your thought on that? If you guys had to take a little straw poll in the comments, content creator workshop for day after tomorrow or the week following. And the idea is that we get into, the little things that help make a difference in your subscribers. Um, how to title, how to tag, little things to do on editing. Basically, what's the biggest bang for the buck on your videos? Um, that kind of thing.
Putting your
And
face
they,
in
they
there.
were really helpful to a lot of people last year.
Putting your face in the video. And
Yeah,
let
there's
people
all
become
kinds of
like,
things.
yeah, get like build a somewhat personal relationship
Right.
with you. If you don't do that,
Yeah.
people aren't going to want to watch.
Just them seeing that they're interacting with a person is far more important than what you look or sound like. What's
Right.
important is that they see they're talking to a person, not what you look like. What they hear is not what you sound like, but that they can hear you. Slant Daily Garage says, I want both your thoughts on my naturally aspirated cam that I'm going to spray into O2. It's a 274, 283 duration on a 108 LSA. Thoughts? My thought would be is I know a guy who works for TCI that will probably have some great insight.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that guy is him.
Yeah, right.
I'm kind of wondering if you could, because see, generally you don't want a cam with a lot of overlap because then it just spits out all your nitrous out the exhaust.
Well, see, that's kind of what I'm looking at. I mean, and again, you would know better than I would, Professor P. But don't they usually run a little wider LSA when they're spraying them like that? And I don't know. I don't know what to tell you on that. I don't have enough nitrous experience to be valuable to anyone. You and Andy, Joe, you be the guys that I would call up if I was wanting to do something with nitrous.
I'm kind of wondering if there's a way that you could advance it.
Max Wedge, Dick Dastardly, I saw you on Blake's Live. That was really cool. I caught about the last few minutes of that. I saw you on there. That was really cool. Who's Your Garage? I have seen you in here, by the way. Yeah, he knows the answer. Just wants your thoughts. Well, I got to tell you, Slant Daily, my thought is that when I'm out to lunch on something or I don't think that I have enough value to infuse for answer, I don't want to just throw misinformation out there to pretend like I do. So I really don't.
I'll tell you what I know. What I already know is that camshaft 100% is going to work. It just won't be ideal for the combination.
Right. Well, we know it'll work, but
right. And then with nitrous oxide, all it's going to do is take what you already have and it's going to apply that magnifying glass and make it even bigger and broader. Right.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the only thing. I think that it is going to be fine.
Yeah, it's a little out of what I know, and
I'm kind of wondering if you can advance it and it's going to change because see, then the exhaust valve would have a chance to close before spitting all your nitrous oxide out the exhaust side with all that overlap.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't know. That'd be a good one if Andy was in here.
Maybe the Mr. Polito can answer
or
that.
Or if DV. On rare occasion, Vizar will float through here. First responder, his thoughts are there's not enough duration for the overlap. You're fine. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and again, those numbers, yeah, it wasn't crazy duration from what I saw. And thank you for the super chat, by the way. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Very generous. Shane is very generous. He's a very nice, generous guy. He's fun to hang out with. We had a good time at PRI.
Oh, he's always a good guy. Yeah,
yes.
He's always a fun time.
Yes. I got to tell you, I've got several friends who I'm friends with that even if YouTube didn't exist, like let's just say that, how there's all these things that have come and gone in the technology and media world that aren't things anymore, right? So like one of these days, YouTube won't be a thing anymore, right? But I still want to be friends with Dallas and Professor P and all of my friends here, So that doesn't change a thing.
Shane is also reminding you that he had White Claws during.
Yes, yes, he did. Yes,
on purpose.
He sponsored Bob Evans of
Oh, I went to the movies today, and they're selling beer at the movie theaters now.
So I get this message. This is funny. It's funny you said that, Dallas. What a timely thing to
I was like,
say.
what in the world? And the guy's like, yeah, we just started doing that. I'm like, wow, I've never seen liquor in the movie theater before.
Let's see here. I got to show you. Speaking of movie theater, you reminded me of something I got today. So, two of my friends from back home sent me this text. Let me find that picture. There we go. He sends me this and says, "Well, looks like we lost our movie theater because there
Oh,
it is. I know when COVID happened, it just shuttered it, right?"
right.
And I said to him, because I know this guy never goes anywhere. Like he has this 2 mile stretch of road between his house and his shop, and that's like his whole world, right? Like going to the movie theater, that's like a big trip for him. So I asked him, I said, "Well, what was the last movie you ever went to there?"
Die
He said,
Hard.
"Well," he said, "Well," he said, "I said I went to Nightmare on Elm Street in 2010 with you, and it sucked." I'm like, "Okay, so you haven't been there in 13 years, but you miss it?" He said, "Well, yeah, because I went to Fast and Furious 2 with you. That was fun."
Yeah, that was 20 years ago.
Exactly. So I'm like, "Okay, yeah." So that movie theater needed to stay there and pay for all that overhead for whatever decade you're going to come back.
Yeah, they got people retiring there since you've seen the last movie there.
Yeah.
They started the day after the movie that you saw and worked there 20 years and retired. Yeah, that I don't know. That's one thing that people just don't kind of get is the small business. You know,
Yeah.
you can't survive like the let's say okay, John's Taco Shop. If you don't eat at John's Taco Shop for a year, John's going to go out of business.
Right.
Taco Bell,
Right.
you don't eat there for a year, PepsiCo is not going out of business. They won't, right? And you'll happily hand your money over to blow your backside out Taco Bell than you would John's Taco Shop. That's the thing that
Dan,
just drives me nuts with the small business stuff.
Danny Boyd stopped going to movies in the 1980s.
Yeah. Well, I like going to the movies. I like taking my kids to the movies, especially certain movies, right? Like, when the Star Wars movies brought their last 3 movies out, I took my daughter for the first time, and she's like, "I don't understand why we're going, Dad." And I'm like, "Because it's a movie theater it's a movie that must be seen in the movie theater to really get the whole bang out of it, right?" But she didn't care for it much. I was happy. I never got to see any of the first ones at the movie theater. My parents did not take us to a movie theater. I went to one movie, I think, when I was a kid, and that was E.T. And
30. I went to ET in the theater.
did you?
Went, yep, sure did.
Yeah. The next movie I saw in a movie theater was a drive-in movie theater, and it was me going to the drive-in. I was 16 years old, so it was
Yeah.
probably 10 years later, and was I think Encino Man maybe.
I remember going to ET in the
Wayne's
theater.
World. Wayne's
I went
World.
to
That's what it was.
I went to ET in the theater. I went to Pinocchio when they re-released the 1950s version on Christmas Eve. Went there with my grandparents and all that, and that was sometime in the 80s, right? Like mid
Uh,
80s. Um, I went to the movie. Remember No Escape? Remember that movie? No Escape.
no.
That was. And I don't. I can tell you how. I can tell you exactly what day I went to that movie. The reason is because when I drove home, when I got home, the OJ Bronco chase was live. Because being out in California,
Oh, yeah, that
in
was
the east it was
94.
late. Yeah, in the east it was late, but it was still like, late. Just after dinner time out in L.A. So when I got home, it was still daylight, and there was this Bronco chase going on. So whatever day that happened is whatever day I went to Noah's, and that was the last movie I ever went to in Blueprints Plaza before they tore it down. Yeah, Hoosier went to see Indiana Jones Last
Oh,
Crusade. That
that's a good one to see in a movie theater. I never saw any of the Indiana Jones in the movie theater. I would love to see the Raiders of the Lost Ark in the movie theater. Oh,
Hammer Ridge Renovations was at the bowling alley for OJ. Yeah, yeah.
I was at work. I remember it distinctly because I was at work and
I
I was
was
working. I was actually John. This is right up your alley, man. I was working for Chrysler, I was working for a company that was subcontracted for Dodge, and I was putting the door panels together for the at that time the brand new 1994 Chrysler LeBaron convertible, and I was putting the door panels together. The armrest in the rear, and I came home. My fingers were bleeding. They had these little metal tabs that were hooked into place, and I had to push every single one of them by hand. And my hands were bleeding. And I walked in, and an OJ was running from the cops. I walked in from getting off work, and
What's up,
that was
Busted
on
Radio?
that was on the nighttime news.
First responder says that movies are for people that have time. I got to tell you, I like when I'm here. Like I cannot just sit down and watch a movie. I cannot do that. It's like you're telling me I got to take 2 hours off from anything productive. I can't do that. I cannot do that. But if I'm somewhere else, like if I'm out of town, I'll tell you when I can watch a movie. If I'm in Bluefield working on the old house or something, and I got to crash there because I got more to do tomorrow, it's like, okay, I can't do as much here, not without real internet and stuff. So I'll just watch a movie. That's when I can watch a movie.
Well, and so that's exactly how my life was. Being in the Navy 23 years, yeah. When I'm at home, I won't have any time to do anything. I will find stuff to do and bury myself in it, right? But in the Navy, I never had that opportunity. Every 2-3 years, you're transferring. You're going to a whole new command and never in the same locale, right? So, like, and I'll give you the rundown. I was stationed in San Diego, Japan. I went from Japan to Pascagoula, Mississippi, to Gulfport, Mississippi, to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, back to Gulfport, Mississippi, from Gulfport to Hawaii, from Hawaii to Sydney, Australia, from Sydney, Australia to Jacksonville, Florida, from Jacksonville, Florida to San Diego, California. And that's how many times I moved, right? And you never have the opportunity to set up your life in any of them spots because by the time you get the last box unpacked, the people are showing up to pack all your shit up again, right? Oh. And it was like it was horrible. So my wife and I would find stuff.
Danny Boy only watches old movies. I get it.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time watching movies just from stuff like that. Plus being deployed, that's what we got free new movies. Like we would get stuff that wasn't even out yet, and it would show up.
Yeah, I don't watch anything made now. It's just
well, one thing I've noticed that you're talking about movies. Yeah. All the movies made now past like 2020 have all been this political mindfuck kind of movie where it's always
I hate all that.
It's it's got to be like, hey, let's change the gender or the race of this person that's the main character, and it's like, why? What's wrong with just making a new freaking story?
Well, okay, it's like okay. So here's one. I remember when the James Bond franchise has been around forever, right?
Right.
And of course, James Bond, beginning in the first movie would have been 1962, Dr. No. Character been around a little longer. So who'd they cast for the first James Bond for 1962 movie? Dr. No, Sean Connery, right?
Right.
And then, of course, when Sean Connery was getting some years on him, they, of course, recast James Bond with Roger Moore, another British guy, right?
Right. Who is completely different.
Right. And then when Roger Moore was looking to retire,
actually,
between the two, they had.
You're doing this wrong. That franchise got split in half.
Wait a minute. It did, but not.
And they went this way, and they still had Sean Connery.
No. Hold on. You're talking a little later. Who was it they had? George Lazenby. George Lazenby was between. Then they get back. When it split was like 83. It split later.
Because Octopussy came out the same time as You Only Live Twice.
Never Say Never Again, but that
is that what it was?
Yeah. But then main trail, right? Eon Productions trail. It was always the British James Bond. And you had Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, now Daniel Craig. But but now what I'm hearing is one of these days they're going to do something completely different with Bond. Bond could be like female, or Bond could be.
How much you want to bet it's going to be black female that's gay?
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to happen. I predict it.
And they suggested. I can't think of his name. a black actor for Bond, and I mean, he might be
Oh,
all right, but he's not Bond.
Idris Elba. Or
Yeah. But he's not Bond, and it's just like some things just don't. They don't. I don't know. They don't work like when they try to reinvent these characters like
well,
that. It
I
just
don't
doesn't
mind if
work.
they change the colors, but it seems like that there's a hidden agenda behind it
No,
all, right?
but it's not even that. It's like Bond is supposed to be a British spy. It's like they want to do an American spy, or they want to make it a political spy with an American agenda, or just some other thing that's not the traditional British spy angle. I'm not really crazy about that.
Buff's Garage says if Halle Berry was Bond, I'd watch it.
Yeah. Well, Halle Berry wasn't a Bond movie. See, there's all
She was a
kinds
Bond
of
girl.
yeah, there's all kinds of characters in the Bond universe, but I've never gotten where they try to, completely, mess with the franchise. It's like start a new thing.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Here's what's the problem really is. There's no real inspiration left out there for people to start new stories. And what they do is they take the old ones and clutter them all up till you make a freaking garbage show.
I've never been crazy about that. You can't try to go back and reimagine everything.
Well, I tell you what, when they brought out James Bond and it was Daniel Craig, the first one that I watched was the original. It was actually part of the original Bond book series, right?
Yeah.
Which was the what was the first one they did? Casino Royale.
Yeah.
I think it was Casino Royale. Oh, how raw and gritty that was, and it was such a good, like a refreshing take on Bond again. And then from then on, it was just like.
Right. Yeah. To me, okay, so the last Bond movie that I really liked was A View to a Kill. Okay. That was 1985.
Was that a Timothy Dalton movie?
That was the one right before him. So the one after that was the Living Daylights, and that one was Timothy Dalton. But this was the last Roger Moore. A View to a Kill. Duran Duran did the theme music. They even shot part of it in West Virginia, not too awfully far from where I'm from.
Huh.
But I don't know. I just kind of like it when it's okay to have original stories and just leave them alone. It's nothing wrong with that.
Like I said, there's a lot of undertones, and I watched it today and all the trailers.
Yeah.
Every single trailer that came up for me, I took my kids to go see a movie, Super Mario Brothers movie, right?
Disney's the worst.
Well, and this is I don't know, Pixar or whoever, Illumination that does the Gru movies, right? I nap for half the movie, but I always love watching the trailers. But in the beginning was like, here was Disney and their new Little Mermaid movie, a black female lead actress as Ariel, and I'm like, okay, well, cool, but why didn't they make everybody else black? Why does it just got to be the one actress? It seems like it's so targeted.
It's just strange. I don't care for it.
Oh yeah, Doug Norton saying The View to a Kill was Christopher Walken as a villain. I remember that one. That was a good one. It had Grace Jones in it.
That was a good movie. I really enjoyed
it was a good one.
And because we always think of cars, one of the scenes I thought was funny is in there, and they put James Bond in the back of a Rolls Royce, and they sank it in a pond. And so he gets out, and he's getting air out of the
tire. Yeah.
Now, let me tell you, what kind of teeth does James Bond have that he can push that Schrader valve in?
He's Jaws. He's also Jaws. Yeah. No, those movies, that one was actually really good. Christopher Walken was an excellent bad guy in that movie.
Oh, yeah. He was great. Thumper said it's called shoehorning. Hoosier says it's pandering. I don't know what it's called. I like classic things to be left alone. I'll tell you what it's exactly like. I love the Dodge Dart. Everybody knows that. I have 3 of them, right? Like, no, I don't have to convince anybody that I love the Dodge Dart, right? I hated the Fiat Dart. Leave leave the dart alone.
Oh,
You know
dude,
what I
I
mean?
remember when they came out with that. There was guys at work were like, "Oh man, I'm gonna go buy myself a new dart." I said, "That's not a Dodge dart, dude."
Not everything has to be rebooted into something else to make it acceptable today. I don't know. Not my thing, man. Yeah, Slant Daily says I love me a dollar. Also, Professor P, I was talking about earlier. I said you and I before you got in here. I said you and I are probably on the same page that arguably the '68 Dart is the finest looking car ever made. I love the '68 Dart. There's something that is so wonderfully wrong about that angular grill with those round marker lights. It was just perfect.
Well, and there's like I said before, and I've said it on a couple shows now. There's certain cars that the manufacturers just got so right they couldn't change anything on them,
That's
right?
right.
And
That's right.
that's obviously how you view that '69 Dart. I think, and I'm not a Camaro guy. I don't like Chevrolet stuff. '69 Camaro was the same way. '69 '70 Mustang, same way. It was like you could not change one thing on that car. One thing. It was just so perfect, But I honestly believe the '70 Buick GS, same way.
Yeah.
You couldn't change anything on it. But
Yeah, and some of them when they made the changes, I liked them all in different ways. Like I can't help but one of my favorite looks ever was the '69 Coronet and Super B. I just loved that grill. Um, it's one of those that you can't really make little changes to and have it look right. So I'm glad that the '68 and '70 were different enough that there wasn't like an inferior version of that. Well, there was kind of. They put a split in it for the 500. It looked weird,
yeah.
but I liked that grill.
Well, so Thumper's saying 65 GTO nose is greater than any Dart nose. I'll tell you what, like he's right on that because 65 is where they stack the headlights, right? And if you look
Yeah.
at cars in history, at 65 Comet, right? Cyclone, 65. That year was just, I think that was the ones where they stacked the headlights as well. And that was a good looking year, right? But you did like the 1 year earlier, like the 64. But if you looked at the 64 Fairlane, oh man, it was good looking. You look at the 65, it's like, ugh, they changed one thing. Yeah. There was a lot of that and that's where I think a lot of the inspiration has gone, to tell you the truth. Because like, okay, and for example, Thumper's throwing the perfect one up that I feel is the one that stands out. The '67 Cougar grill is sublime, he says, right?
Yeah.
The Cougar was the go-between from the Mustang. If you had a little bit more cash to spend and you wanted something that was a little bit more flashier, a little bit more flair, you got the Cougar. Those don't even exist anymore. They don't even make a Mercury. Mercury is gone. Right? And that's the thing that, like, what I was getting at is all of that's gone. And there's no inspiration to run those cars. If you remember the last few years, everything they made looked just like the Ford. It literally looked just like the Ford.
Hey Dakota, you cannot get a '68 Coronet for 2,500. I mean, what kind of bottom of the ocean condition is that? Buff's on a roll tonight. Yeah, we're kind of hitting our weird hour here.
The one I always liked is like the '65 Dodge grill. I always liked the grill in the '65
Oh
Dodge.
man, I'll tell you what, I love the grills in the '65 Dodge truck. The big round headlight bezels and the grill, the clean bars that went across. They just looked outstanding.
Is that the swept line body style?
Trucks.
It's a swept
Yeah,
line
it's
truck. Yeah.
those years, yeah. But I love the look of that. It was fantastic. He's seen a bunch of them for 2,000 to 3,000 ragged up. Well, yeah, probably for that. Yeah, if it's trash, I guess. But I don't see as many '68 Coronets for sale. '69 sure is hard to find. But the thing about a '68, there's so much 1 year only stuff on them. It's kind of a pain. A lot of 1 year only stuff on a '68. There was a '68 Super B 383 4-speed car Still had the 4-speed in it, did not have the engine in it, still had the hood. It was complete, but it was really rusty. And it was sitting in a junkyard when I was a kid. And my uncle kind of went back and forth on whether or not he wanted to buy it, and the yard went back and forth on whether or not they wanted to sell it. And the number was $500, and it just didn't wind up happening. But it was kind of cool. Of course, it doesn't exist anymore. So I'm going to poll you guys, since we have just a few minutes left here. Would you guys prefer to have and again, most of the people in here are not the people who are probably most needing the Content Creator Workshop. Would you prefer to have a Content Creator Workshop on Sunday the 9th or the next Sunday, which would be the 16th? It will be Sunday afternoon. And I know Buck said he's available. That's what I think I want to have on for my guest, as Buck does it. But we'll definitely have a guest on who is an experienced YouTuber. And not that I'm not, but we're going to try to have guests on to try to help you guys get your videos in prime condition, to get your channels together and get your subscribers. Ron English says, how about a 67 Malibu for $400? Boy, I bet that's a gem.
I bet that's it's rough. 4-door
Yeah.
and rough.
Yeah, buddy. Twisted Mopar says, I'm checking out, had a disaster of a day. Take care. Yeah, man. Hey, Twisted Mopar, if you can make that Content Creator Workshop, make it if you can. It's going to be slower paced. You can ask any questions you want. We'll make sure you get whatever answers you need. And I guess the idea is we'll just find something that works for you. And it's not necessarily the same for everyone, but whatever helps you with your channel, that's what we want to do.
Huh.
Either work this Sunday, Easter. Exactly. That's why I'm asking Junkyard today. That's why I didn't just schedule it. Because a lot of people, some people have plans, some people do not. 38 POS Racing just found a 59 El Camino for $500. Awesome.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, man.
Hey, and so here's another thing that people don't know is if the frame's rusted out on that 59 El Camino, which they like to do, especially around the rear axle area.
Yeah.
They made that X-frame all the way up to 1970, right? The Riviera and Wildcat came with that. Came with, or I think Riviera, just the Riviera came with that chassis, and that means that the Pontiac Grand Prix would have had that same thing.
Huh.
So that X-frame was available all the way up to 70. So don't just, you can't find a frame, you're having a hard time, go look for a 70 Rivy or 69 Rivy, right?
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Buck says, okay, glad you're in here, Buck. Yeah, so I'll tell you what, I'm not getting a lot of feedback. I think I'm going to go ahead and have it this Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, this Sunday, Content Creator Workshop on this channel. And it is geared toward the no-name 500 contenders. We give you suggestions. You do what you want with them, but we're glad to help anybody. We can do just general stuff, but if you guys have specific questions, if you say, "Hey guys, what do you think will be a good idea?" We've got ideas, and we can help you. That's the idea. We're just giving some of our time to help you guys.
Oh, Thumper's buddy is the 38 POS Racing. He was the one that was at No Name Nationals last year. You guys sent me that thing with the 340 Buicks, the email with the 340 Buicks. I did get it. I just don't need another engine. That's the last thing I need right now.
Yep. 38 POS Racing's a warrior driving that 59 Chevy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it. And he's coming up. He's getting it going. He's around 153, 4 subs, something like that. And you can look at it like, yeah, that's behind, but not exactly, because it takes more time to get the first 150 than the last 150, for sure. So if you have 150, you're okay. You're on pace to just make it if you keep up. But everybody right now can make it. Everybody can make it. But there's nothing free. So he'll be up in Tennessee. Hop in the chat. Sure, man. Always glad to have you. NSB, I did a few more change some tires manually. Think of y'all when I do it. I love doing it though. I don't mind doing it. Some of them fight me. Excuse me. Dakota's at 153. Dakota, let's get together. You like crazy ideas, and you know I have them. Let's get together. Let's put something together for you, Dakota. You game for that? Hoosier says whoever subbed to me, thanks. Yeah, LNA is going to make it. He's hammering away. Oh, something I'll just mention, by the way. So LNA, he took one of my shorts and repackaged it for his channel, which is okay. But understand, you don't necessarily want to do that. You can share a short. A short has a link, and you can make a community post. And what you do is you make a post, you click video, and then you put the link up, and it will find it. And that's how you share a short. And then that way, that channel will continue to get the views for the short. You can share it. You can add your commentary, still get you clicks and views. Everybody wins. But that's what you want to do when you want to share short content. And something about it, too, the algorithm likes when you do that. I don't know what, but again, that's stuff we don't know. We just see the results of it. But LNA is hammering. He's halfway there. He's going to make it. He's got some great stuff too, because he works in a shop where all kinds of crazy stuff comes in. So LNA Auto Works he's one worth watching. His neat stuff that comes in.
Dakota saying my videos get pretty good views, just harder to get subs. All right, so to make that work is you need to be turning out a video pretty much every day, right? You don't have to be over 12 minutes. Just turn out a video a day, spend a little time editing. You need to get into everybody's browser history, and then they'll start sharing your stuff around, and that will gain you more subs.
Yeah, Dakota, there is some method to it. Let's get together, because you've got some good stuff, and I'd like to see you get a boost. And I work with everybody in the No Name 500 eventually. Like for instance, like I'm talking about Dakota now. Does that mean I'm not thinking about New Guy's guitar? Oh, of course I am. But, we all do things eventually, And some of them are just rocking along so good that it's like they're just doing their thing. And we'll catch them when they hit their 500. Excuse me. My throat's scratchy.
Bless you. I don't know if that was a sneeze or not.
Short. I just cough. My throat's a little scratchy. Might be the pollen. Could be. I don't know. Trees start to come out. Yeah, LNA, that's fine. YouTube's different, but when you share that link, you can and tagging everybody. That's a big deal too. Tag, and you're pretty good about that, the tagging and all that good stuff. But we can get into all of that in the content creator workshop. There's so many neat things that there are to do. Hoosier says need videos of revenue content. Hoosier's excellent for that, because he'll do like Rust. Like Hoosier is practically rebuilding a Duster from nothing right now. Like nothing. He started with this piece of iron that allegedly was a Duster, and he is building it into a rust-free car. It's pretty amazing. Most people don't do that level of fab in their garage like he's doing. And that's evergreen content, because people will always be doing that, right? So to him, it's not like it's a fad or anything. People will always come back and watch it. Ron English, you guys are too worried about tech. You're not as far off as you think. Hoosier has several, gets a few subs a day. Yeah, I've got some videos out there that people just watch all the time. My drunk's getting thrown out of a football game, cab mounts in the Ford F100, the demolition derby video with my friend Corey, my dad.
It's more or less just getting your stuff out there. I'll tell you. I mean, now I'm about a year ahead of you, right? But here's what's going on for me now. I haven't done a video in almost 2 months, right? Month and a half maybe. I got 100 subs this past month just because your stuff is out there. And people have watched it before, and they're telling their friends about it, or they see something that you did before, and they look at your other stuff. and it just keeps growing. You just got to get stuff out there always. And I mean, yeah, I've taken a couple of months off so I can get everything else all taken care of, but I literally have over 150 videos, right? So they'll still get views. And I mean, yeah, am I making bank? No, I'm barely even, I might get paid once a year from YouTube for $100. Nothing serious. But the most important thing is have the content out there. It'll always get views, even if you stop doing it.
Need to work on the watch time per video. Yeah, YouTube's a big experience and experiment, and it's interesting like that. Let's see.
Dude, we're at 2 hours right now.
Yeah, I see time's flown by. We have crested.
It's gone by pretty quick. Yeah.
Hammer Wrench said he hit 51 in his first monetized month. All right, well, so we're wrapping up. Anybody have any last anything that they want to ask? Anything that needs to get promoted? Anything we need to ask? Anything that there's some housekeeping I wanted to take care of tonight. I'm not really in the mood for it unless somebody puts me in it. But because, there was some that needed to be done last night, and Irish Outlaw Jay took care of it. And I guess I'll just may grit my teeth about it this week, but we may deal with it later if need be. But I wanted to just have fun tonight, so I did. Danny Boyd says, how do you know when you're blocked? We can cover that in the Content Creator Workshop. I can tell you how to tell when you're blocked. I can tell you all about that because I've had people ask about it in the chat and they'll say, am I blocked? But, in the chat, you can't really explain all that to them. Exactly, Buff. I don't want to. I'm not in the mood for it. I don't want to housekeep, but I got some I'd love to do, but not tonight. We'll pick that for another time. But just wanted to have fun. Don't get Dallas on as often as I'd like to anymore, so because it's busy, but we just wanted to have some fun.
I'll get caught up here soon, and then it'll just be cakewalk, smooth sailing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I won't work on the truck that much once it's carbureted.
Last year, Dallas and I were doing No Name National Update lives every other week because remember, back in the 2022 inaugural run, we were trying to make sure to sell people the idea and the vision, and this year we don't have to do that. Because you guys know what we deliver, and you saw it, and you were there, right? And so this year, we're reminding you of updates, but it happened, and so now we don't have that hurdle anymore. But we still want to keep you updated. We still want to tell you what we're working on. And my estimation is that by mid-April, we're going to be accelerating that a little bit because there's still some new and exciting things in the works. So I want to have Dallas on more often, but I've decided to give him a little break and not nag him quite as much early in the season. But it's fun.
John limits me. See, he didn't allow me to come on here stripped down naked, drinking alcohol and all that stuff.
Dallas is welcome. Love having Dallas on. I just don't want to wear him out. Dallas is very good to me. I appreciate him very much.
Well, thanks. I feel the same way. This community has always been good to me. John's
community rules.
Helpful.
It's the best community on YouTube.
So non-malice, huh? Yeah, I try to be a pretty decent person. There's some haters here on YouTube that think otherwise, but just like there was, I can't remember what this cat's name was. He was saying that there's some kind of monthly fee with the AHRA. I don't know where this dude's getting information
that was
from.
addressed last night. There was a completely, I can't call it a rumor. I just call it a lie. We had a fella telling people that to belong to the AHRA and have a membership that it had a monthly fee after your annual membership fee, which is not true. And in fact, nobody even knows where that came from, I guess, other than, just malice. But anyway, that was handled pretty good. And I don't feel like getting into it.
I didn't know that. When was this? It was a impromptu live on your channel?
No, not on my channel. I was thinking it, but, Irish Outlaw Jay is not exactly known for having the filter.
He saw that, and
Jay saw it, and Jay
addressed it.
Decided to do some housekeeping, and it was, and I was sitting back enjoying it very much. Very professional. Name no names. Took care of business. So I'm like,
I didn't even know
got
that.
nothing to add to that. So
Well,
yeah,
sweet.
it was on Jay's regular Thursday night. So I appreciate. I got to say, I'm very proud of the
Well,
community.
thanks, Jay. Yeah, for straightening that out. I didn't know it
The,
got handled somewhere.
the community has been, because, well, let me tell you, it doesn't get handled. We handle it. We handle our stuff, but I really like that the community takes care of its own problems. So anyway, yeah, that took the trash right. So Jay handles business. But anyway, with that, Dean says slides are best when they're made up, right? But anyway, with that, we're gonna call it a day. We're over time. Um, I don't want to, keep you guys. I know it's a Friday evening. I don't want to keep you guys on a Friday evening. It's been fun. I've had a good evening. Um, I got some things right here that I'm keeping in my pocket for the moment, and if they need to be talked about, they will. But so far, I'm pleased with how things are running, and this community means too much for me to watch anything mess it up. So again, I appreciate that. I'm going to be booking more guests soon, and it's the time for that because we're going to be getting guests, from the community as we get closer to time. Um, we're working toward that. But anyway, I've been giving some people a break, like poor old Dallas, because wore out his generosity last year having these lives as much fun as we have, and
No, I didn't wear out anything. And
it's fun
I,
though.
yeah, it just feels a little bit weird. This year's a little bit slower because we were
A
we
little
were
bit.
hammering them out last year and
Well,
really knocking them out. But see, I was also on the road quite a bit. For this year's just worked out a bit
yeah,
different because we started a little bit earlier, and I wanted the No Name Nationals to be the last event essentially, and because that event was the last hurrah. And what I found out last year was we worked that event, and John and I were there virtually 2 weeks, right?
man,
And then
it's
what?
a full week for us. It
Well,
is
then
it
I
is
had
the
yeah,
Nutting Nationals is a week.
I had another event after that, and I probably shouldn't have been on the road that early. I should have taken more time off because I was so wore out, and ended up, but I did some dumb things and got some issues. So
My feet were so blistered. I don't know how many miles I walked through those pits doing different things needed to be done. But I
I
got to
just
tell you,
remember our
we love it.
face at the end
We
of it,
love it.
like
I can't wait.
yeah, our face at the end was like John and I lips are both
Look,
split from the
so
sun and the
this is
dehydration and
this is what you look like when you spend a week out in that kind of sun and wind. This is
and it was from
right
sun
here.
up till guaranteed hours afterwards.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm shining like red chrome there just from the wind and the sun. Now Jethro looks fine, but I looked a little rough.
Yeah, he was under the table all day. You
That's
and I
right.
were out in the sun and like making shit happen. So
See that's what see that Jethro's got the life. He hangs it under the table, barks at all the monkey bikes, and gets all that attention. He just loves it. No, Ron English, I got something better than that. Wendy is my chauffeur. So that Wendy is my No Name National chauffeur. It's a wonderful gig. I really like that. All right, guys. I won't go into overtime. Last week I did. It was having a good time, but I know it's your evening, and I appreciate you spending here with us. So I want to thank the mods, Joe, Andy, Blake, Ari, Unfinished Project, Two Acts. You guys keep things running smooth, and I appreciate that very much. You have anything you need to plug real quick, Dallas, before you roll out?
yeah, old man at the shop built not bought is saying, is the AHRA at Hertford this year? Yes, we are. We are at
Yep.
Hertford. We're also at Wilkesboro.
Yes,
Uh,
Wilkesboro. If you haven't been to Wilkesboro, that's a cool track. You need to go.
yeah, and it's literally like the oldest operating track in all of North Carolina, I believe. So, and if you've never been there, it looks pretty dang cool. It's like a bowl, right? Everything comes down to the starting line, which is kind of cool. So, other than that, that's really about all I
All right.
have. I like to
Excellent.
thank all the people that bought some merchandise and stuff and keep the lights on at the AHRA and keep us
Appreciate that.
going forward. Yeah.
Well, there's Ed sliding in here at the last second. Just see what's going on. Howdy, Ed. All right. Well, with that, we'll see you guys next week. Y'all take care. Have a good weekend. And Sunday, if you come to Content Creator Workshop, 6 p.m. this Sunday on this channel. But for everybody else, I'll see you next week.
Happy Easter.